Welcome to Podcastocracy. In this episode, we will discuss relations between memory, dance, and genocide in Cambodia. In this episode of Institute of Public Policy's podcast series, we will explore these issues with Karol Itczak, a cultural professional and researcher whose work bridges heritage, healing, and humanity. Drawing on her years with UNESCO in Cambodia, Karol, in her research, explores how dance and other forms of intangible cultural heritage became powerful tool for post-conflict recovery and peace building. So this podcast is a part of a CIMORI project, which is short for Central European Memory of the Holocaust in a multicultural and multidimensional perspective. So thank you very much for being with us today, Karol.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So at the very beginning of our talk, could you tell us a bit about yourself? Where are you from and what do you do? And I have to add that we, together with Karol, are PhD candidates in the doctoral schools in the humanities at the Jagiellonian University, and we will be doing a little similar project during our PhD. So,
thank you once again for having me. First of all, I'm so glad that you pronounce my last name better than I do, because I do have a Polish last name, but I am French. And I am a cultural professional. I've worked for some 10 years in the field of culture. My most interesting experience, I think, is with UNESCO in Cambodia. I worked on the promotion of intangible cultural heritage, safeguarding of World Heritage sites in Cambodia, and also the promotion of the creative industries. So the PhD project that I'm now working on really derives from this professional experience working in a post-conflict, post-genocide context.
Mm-hmm. And you are also part of the UNA HERDOC, UNA Europa Doctoral program. Could you tell us a bit more what this program is and what makes it unique from your perspective?
All right. Yes. So it's a great program. That comprises 9 UNA Europa universities, all from Europe, and it gives you the opportunity to work on a project related to cultural heritage, to have also networking opportunities with other PhD candidates working on cultural heritage, and there will be, for instance, many trainings on cultural heritage. The next one, I wrote it down because it sounds super interesting, will be in Madrid next March. It will be about dissonant heritage linked to the Spanish Civil War and Franco's dictatorship. So this should be super interesting, yeah. And I have to mention that my home university is the Jagiellonian, and my host university will be Paris 1, Panthéon, Sorbonne, because with this program you have 2 universities, so it means 2 supervisors, and you get at the end of it a certificate from the 9 partner universities. Anyways, it's a great European program for cultural heritage.
Okay, and what about your supervisors?
My supervisors are Professor Klimczyk, who's a dance expert. He's worked extensively, on dance, and in Paris, it will be Maria Gravari-Barbas. So she studies, she investigates especially tourism and heritage, and she has experience in Cambodia. So that's why it will be very complementary to have someone working on dance, and on the other hand, someone more focused on heritage.
Okay, so greetings for Professor Klimczyk from the Institute of Public Policies. And the last question about the UNA HERDOC, how does it differ from more traditional PhD pathways?
I think it's the European dimension of this PhD program, the fact that so many universities are partnering on this. And you have also, I said, networking opportunities, trainings. You have research teams gathering like all teachers, professors, and students from all these universities. So opportunities to meet. It's really a program anchored in the European context on cultural heritage. So it's quite,
Very interesting. Okay. So how did your journey with the topic of intangible cultural heritage begin, and what drew go specifically to the Royal Ballet of Cambodia.
Yes. So as I mentioned in the introduction, I worked for UNESCO in Cambodia as Associate Program Specialist for Culture for many years. And this topic really derives from this. I'm a graduate in cultural anthropology. So I was naturally really drawn to intangible cultural heritage, and I wanted to do PhD studies to sort of take a critical stance on the mandate I was promoting as a UNESCO staff, which is to build peace in the minds of men and women through culture. So you promote culture for peace building. This is the core of our mission. And I wanted to really look into it more critically and especially what are the linkages between intangible cultural heritage and peace building? What does it mean to promote culture for peace building? So yes, I think it was a mix of the two. Working in Cambodia, also I led a lot of projects that addressed the aftermath of the genocide. So for instance, I managed a project to include intangible cultural heritage into the school curriculum to reconnect younger generations with their living heritage. I also led a project in Kokere for the protection of the site, including also demining activities. So I did so many activities that helped me, let's say, get a sense of what it means to be in a post-conflict context and really try and work with cultural heritage experts on the ground. And so it was both from my background in anthropology and this professional experience that I was drawn to this topic. And why the Royal Ballet? Because I think that there are many domains of intangible cultural heritage. It comprises, for instance, oral traditions, knowledge about nature, craftsmanship, performing arts. I think dance, because it is embodied, it is like the effective dimension will be very interesting to investigate. How it has maybe allowed to process these dramatic events, to process trauma, to build resilience, social healing, and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned many terms like social healing or recovery, and how do you define this recovery or peace when it comes to intangible heritage?
Yes, so I think the interesting thing about this research is that it shifts focus from tangible cultural heritage to intangible cultural heritage. So there's already a wealth of research focusing on like physical reconstruction of monuments after a conflict, after a war. So as you're saying, like when we talk about recovery of intangible cultural heritage, it has nothing to do with a physical tangible reconstruction of a building. So it's much more difficult to grasp. It is like something that has to do with, emotions. It is an effective, something that is embodied, that is lived, experienced through the body. Like, you see what I mean? It's not, and once again, yes, it's much harder to grasp than the reconstruction. Yeah.
So it's not about the reconstruction, it's much more about the practice, a social practice, or emotional revival or something like this.
Yes, and retransmission, obviously,
okay.
Because the war, context of war, conflict, obviously there has been a disruption in the transmission of practice because the bearers of this heritage have disappeared, or because they're displaced, because they are in exile, I don't know. So yeah, about the retransmission, like how do you retransmit, how do you start this process?
Okay, so how has the Cambodian Royal Ballet been revived after the Khmer Rouge regime, and in what ways has this revival been tied to post-conflict recovery and peace building?
So that's a very great question that I will try to answer throughout my PhD studies. So it's really multi-layered. So first of all, there have been really concerted efforts. The government has been really involved in the institutionalization of the Royal Ballet. Here I need to mention that this particular art form, dance, is centuries old. It is associated with the past, the glorious past of Khmer people, the Angkorian civilization. Just as a reminder, the Khmer Empire was from the 9th until the 15th century, and it stretched from Vietnam to Myanmar. So it was really a very important, let's say, an important aspect of Khmer identity. And so, yes, the state, the government really tried to institutionalize it, and there has been one person in particular who has made great efforts. It was the Princess Bopa Devi, who was a dancer herself, so related to the royal family. Mm-hmm. She worked for the inscription of the Royal Ballet on first as a masterpiece of oral tradition before the 2003 convention of UNESCO. There was already a registry of masterpieces of oral tradition. So the Royal Ballet was inscribed in 2003, and then on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2008. I apologize. These long titles are very UNESCO. And so she really advocated for like a greater appreciation and also international appreciation of the Royal Ballet. She also was instrumental in creating a school. Then after that, you had the Royal University of Fine Arts, the second secondary school of fine arts as well, who trained artists, trained dancers. So there has been great support from the royal family, so Princess Bopa Devi, and then training through formal education, which has allowed transmission of the Royal Ballet. And there is also very dynamic, there are dynamic civil society organizations who have played a key role in transmitting the Royal Ballet, especially diasporas. There's a great diaspora in Logne, which is near Paris. So at a time right after the genocide, when maybe institutions were weak or non-existent, let's say, I think that diasporas and people in exile played a key role in transmitting the Royal Ballet. So it has been really a multi-layered revival, very complex, involving state-led initiatives and more grassroots activities.
Okay, so what roles have Cambodian refugees, diasporas, and civil society played in preserving, transmitting ballet and adapting of adaptations?
So this I will be able to tell you more maybe after I investigate more, but I can maybe give examples of really immediate post-genocide, post-conflict initiatives. There has been a school created, for instance, the refugee camp on the border with Thailand, which trained dancers, and that was like one of the very first examples I have of really what I would call grassroots, or let's say community-led initiatives, completely, let's say it had nothing to do with the government or the political situation. Let's say it was properly an initiative from the people to create this school at the refugee camp. And like I said, I think that diasporas have been very active, right, in an immediate post-conflict context at a time when institutions were weak, yes, to retransmit the Royal Ballet. So they filled the gap, let's say.
And could you elaborate on the state's role?
Yeah. Yes. So as I said, their objective was really to allow formal education of the Royal Ballet. So through the creation of trainings with the Royal University of Fine Arts, Secondary School of Fine Arts, and also enlisting on the UNESCO lists. These were major initiatives, and again, the Princess Bobadevi, the creation of a school in Phnom Penh, were like state-supported initiatives.
Okay. And what about the international recognition of the whole process of adapting the Royal Ballet, like UNESCO listing? What it has led to more inclusive safeguarding practices, or has it reinforced a more state unified vision? Ballet?
Yeah, I think that. Of course, in selecting the Royal Ballet, I also thought of this because it's very interesting. It's an ancestral art. Once again, so putting this particular dance performing arts forward after the genocide helped link people to pre-genocide history. The Royal Ballet is so connected to the past glory of the Khmer people that it helped put forward one consensual narrative about the past to unify. It really was essential, I think, for them to go back to Angkorian civilization and these reference points, as if nothing had happened almost. Like it was maybe reassuring to give a sense of continuity. For centuries, this dance has been performed and it will continue to be performed.
Okay. Excuse me, but I would like to ask about more emotional bond to the research subject. And are there any community initiatives or grassroots revival efforts that particularly moved you or stood out during your fieldwork?
Yeah. All right. So I think my very first experience of seeing the Royal Ballet performance was with the company The Sacred Dances of Angkor. It's a company based in Siem Reap, and you see performances of people who are training. So I didn't know much about the background, let's say, but I was really moved by the performance and the context and the fact that basically you pay for a ticket that will then support the school. And I don't know, I thought it was a very sustainable model to ensure that more dancers could be trained in the future. But yeah, I think it was mostly because I was moved by the performance and the fact that they were training, and that you could see dancers in the becoming, let's say. They were in the process of training, and that was really great.
Okay, so how can Cambodia's experience with the Royal Ballet inform broader frameworks for intangible cultural heritage recovery in other post-conflict settings?
Yeah. So that's the whole point of this study, to provide really empirical insights into what happens for the revival of intangible cultural heritage. So my ambition is that I will continue dialogue with heritage organizations who have developed many post-conflict recovery frameworks. I'm thinking about ICOMOS, UNESCO, ALIPH, all these great organizations. So far, intangible cultural heritage has remained really secondary. So it's always in association with sites, with monuments. It's never, not a lot of attention has been paid. So I'm hoping that the research I'm doing now will help advocate for a better integration of intangible cultural heritage into these tools for post-conflict recovery. Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to sum it up in one sentence, what do you think is most crucial for intangible heritage to genuinely support reconciliation and peace, rather than just serve as a symbolic or political gestures?
So I think that it's very important to have state support, because obviously in the worst case scenario where you have censorship, nothing can happen. You need to have support from the state, but also policies that allow for this living heritage to change, because living heritage is constantly recreated, it is adapted, it is transformed. and have very flexible frameworks, and also practitioners that really embrace it, like are the owners of this heritage. Cannot be the state only using it to put forward their political agendas, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, so one more question about the methodology of your research. So could you elaborate on the
methodology? All right, so I will do fieldwork in Cambodia. Obviously, I will go and work especially with the Bopa Devi school in Phnom Penh, to stay with them, interview dancers, and really, I'm not sure I want to call it participative observation, but a hybrid form of participative observation. And I will also lead a lot of interviews with heritage organization, UNESCO staff there, and that's about it. Yep.
Okay. And at the end of our meeting, please share with us some book recommendations for the further research in the area.
Actually, I want to recommend a documentary, if that's all right, because there is a brilliant documentary that is called The Perfect Motion that came out a couple of years ago. It's directed by Xavier de Lausanne, and it focuses on the Royal Ballet, the survival of the Royal Ballet. So exactly my topic, and the pictures are beautiful. It is absolutely stunning, and for anyone who doesn't know anything about Cambodia, it's also a good introduction to the country, the beauty of this country. So
okay, so we'll look into it. Thank you very much. And do you have something to add now?
No, thank you so much for having me. And
okay, so thank you very much. Our guest is Karol Itczak. Thank you for coming, and see you soon.